to another episode of Entrepreneurs en Fuego. This is actually a special edition. We Hispanics, we say especial. We don't say special. We whenever we see an S, we put the E on front of it. We say especial.
I like it.
But for today, we're going to say
special.
Exactly. Why don't we do a Latin style? A special edition of Entrepreneurs en Fuego. We're documenting the journey of incredible entrepreneurs, and it's a special edition because we are here at Bryce Cleveland's Scalp-Aesthetics 2016 conference. I kind of like that. I kind of got that right? Precisely.
Yeah.
With my new best friend,
Clarence, Clarence, Seavert. I've got like 3 names. Well, I've got a lot of names. Sometimes I go by Clarence, sometimes I go by Alan.
Well, you're probably, I was going to say you're probably Latin because we Latins, we have like 20,000 names. We get our grandmother's names, we get our confirmation names, we get our grandfather's name, we got our father's. It just goes on and on and on.
Nice. You just get it all.
Good.Digital.
Good.Digital.
What does Good.Digital do?
So Good.Digital is a digital media agency, branding, all that kind of stuff.
Are you here locally in Phoenix?
No, I'm from Rochester.
Rochester, New York.
Yeah, Rochester, New York.
And you travel all the way from Rochester, New York to Phoenix, Arizona to be at this conference.
Yeah. I was actually flown out here. So I'm also the creative director of scalp-aesthetics. So it's a 2-part gig.
Great. No, great.
I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm also that's kind of how I want to do business, and I feel like it's very important to do business that way when you're doing branding, because you really have to work very, very closely with the client, or else you're not going to really be able to produce and create that imagery that needs to be created without being involved in that company.
You have to get into the client's head, inside their head, to find out exactly, to translate what they're thinking.
It's really tough sometimes, but Bryce,
he's very good. He's got a vision.
I've got to get in Bryce's head, and
How do you get into clients' heads? I mean, do you listen a lot? Do you go out to a bar? You just spend a lot of time with them. What is that process? What is that creative process?
It's a lot of questions. It's a lot of kind of like figuring out where you want to go with your brand. It's a lot of little baby steps and tweaks. It's about the relationship. Once you get to know the person, you can kind of like. I feel like a business is often an extension of a person who they are.
Right.
So I feel like once you know the person that's running the business, then you can kind of get an essence of where to go with some of the styling, and it depends. There's a lot of different factors. If it's a rebrand, if you're working with a current brand.
Right. When you're starting a brand or continuing with a brand, such as the one with Scalp-Aesthetics, and you start growing nationwide, and then you start going internationally, how difficult is that? I mean, what are the things that you need to be aware of?
That's the fun part. That's actually usually when a more official branding is needed. Is when you're like, okay, I've been doing this in a couple different places, and now you're like, now we gotta do it big. So I think that's when the brand really starts getting good, is because when you're producing one piece of content, now you're using it in several different places. So for the company, their costs are actually going down because they're creating one thing that's working for everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's good. It's awesome.
So that is good. So Scalp-Aesthetics is one of your clients.
Right.
It's your specialty in this particular industry, or do you have a specialty? Or?
No, I would say if I had any kind of niche, it would be lifestyle branding or lifestyle marketing, which is, I think, where a lot of the future of marketing is going. It's very personal, it's very lifestyle-esque, and I think that's really what's going to succeed in social, and it's got to be a happy mix of both, like that raw content that you get with your cell phone, and a mix of that vision of that professional stuff that's put together. So,
which is an interesting point, right? Because we are taking with our cell phones.
Right.
I mean, we could be so dangerous with our cell phones anymore, right? I mean, the type that we're taking selfies and all those horrible pictures and stuff. So we're creating a lot of content as individuals. You look at your camera roll, and it's probably 5,000 pictures, 10,000, so many pictures. And if you're working with a client, and a client has so much content, how do you discern, how do you determine what's usable, what is not? In that lifestyle aspect that you're talking about.
You know, I feel like first of all, content is the fuel for any marketing or any business that you're doing nowadays. Like, it is what you need to survive in a digital marketplace. You have to have just content all the time. And I don't think the quality of the content always matters that much. I think that sometimes it does. And then other times it can just be, you know, people like feeling like the raw thing. Like, you know, if we were to do a behind the scenes shoot of this very thing that we're doing right now,
that's
attractive. Then it's attractive. It's different. People like that. But we're also building a very professional look on the other side.
Correct.
You know, so people like the mix.
If this were scripted,
right,
it wouldn't have the same effect as the conversational type of interview that we're having right now, because now we're really finding out what you are thinking at the moment, at the time.
Yeah.
Rather than, all right, I'm going to send you 10 questions beforehand,
and then you have a chance to plan
you have a chance to plan your answers and everything else. It doesn't sound as natural as it does right now.
And I think that people want to see your story a lot of the times too. You know, they want to be, if they care about your brand, they want to see everything that you're doing. You know, they want to be there with you.
What is Alan's story?
What is my story?
Yeah. Why this industry?
I love branding. I love the aspect of taking something as simple as an idea and then being able to build the brand, build the logo, build the initial, you know, presence of the idea, and then begin to make it happen. And to me, that's the most fun thing ever. You know, just the process of conceptualizing and then actually putting it out into the world.
You have a vision for others.
Well, to an extent, I think that it's important for me to find what that core vision is when it's for a client.
Right.
I have to find what that is and then help them develop it. You know, so and it's not always my vision. You know, I kind of do this thing where, like, if you work for somebody and you come up with an idea, it's always still their idea, just because you would have never been able to fathom that idea if they didn't introduce you to that marketplace.
Correct.
You know, so that's just kind of how I see it, where it comes from them. You know, I just help facilitate that.
Would it be fair to say? Would it be fair to say that the hardest part about your job is to brand yourself?
Yeah, actually, it is difficult as a media agency to brand yourself, because I think that it's unfair to your clients if you're putting a ton of time into your own brand, because yes, it helps you sell, and yes, it helps you get out there, and yes, it helps you do stuff, but it's almost like if I'm taking the time to do that, then I'm not putting all of my effort and force into you, you know?
Right.
So it actually is hard to brand yourself.
And you have to look introspectively, right?
Yeah.
What is my vision? And all these things, so all the questions and that dialogue that you have with your clients to find out about what their vision is, and for you to assist in that vision, you're having that conversation in the mirror.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I don't want to get too introspective, too philosophical about it.
I like it.
But I would imagine it's got to be the hardest thing in the world, just to kind of figure out who you are and what you want to do with your clients. Because you know, your vision, you know, when you talk to Bryce, I'm sure you get into his head. You spend all this time getting that information from him and about the industry.
Yeah.
And so you kind of become a little bit of an expert in his field. You have to, in order to convey the message appropriately.
Yeah, you have to really get deep into the whole culture and everything to understand.
You have to.
You know, because a lot of the times when you're doing something, you don't always like with this guy right here, you don't always know what to put in the copy. But if you get, like, I know Bryce, so he actually really liked this one. The innovation is major key, and then the moving scalp micropigmentation forward. So a lot of times, once you get that relationship with a client and you begin to learn, you know, the style and everything, then it's kind of like, hey, I need some banners done. Let's do that. You know, then it becomes way easier for the client once you build that relationship. But that didn't always start out that way. You know, before it was, you know, I need some banners. Let's try this copy and this kind of stuff. There's more direction, but there's less that is needed once you have that relationship.
And as you grow universally, then it has to make sense not just to you, your
Right.
buddies over in
Right.
the state in which you are.
Now it's about the client.
That is about the client.
Yeah.
Now it's about a broader audience.
Right.
And how do you appeal to 300 million people,
Well,
400 million people?
I think that's where digital marketing gets super fun too, is because, you know, it's digital marketing, and you can target so specifically that
Right.
now you have the opportunity to say, hey, this is a niche market that I have, and this is another niche market that I have. So you can start pairing content and actually produce it and get the ads out purely to that niche market. So it's like you could appeal. The TV shows, they've been doing it for years. You know,
Yeah.
you're putting a football commercial on, and then you're using
And you
you're
got your
using
local
players.
pizzeria right
But-
in the commercial, right?
Yeah, but once the companies are big enough, and once you get to the place where you can do the digital, then you can specifically create content for certain demographics within their demographics. So I don't even know if a lot of companies have to have one like super niche market. You know, they can have a couple.
Fascinating stuff, man. I'm always intrigued about what your thought and your creative process is, and how you get into my head, to figure out what my vision is and how to brand me and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Clarence, man. Well, actually, let me say the three names: Alan, Clarence, Seavert.
Yeah. That's
Good
me.
Digital.
Yep.
With that, we're out.
Welcome to the real